Bonjour à tous. Je m'appelle Thomas Axworthy et je suis le directeur de politique publique à le Collège Massey at the University of Toronto. And I'm a member of the Forum for the Leadership on Water, one of the many parts of the water community who are with us today, this very historic day. And I want to thank you for joining us for this ceremony. And of course, the significance of being at those great waterways where our native peoples both traveled and traded across the continent, homeland of the Métis people. And here we are on the lands of Treaty 1, the original territories of the Anishinaabe, the Cree, the Anishinaabe, the Dakota, the Lakota, the Dene, the Métis, as I've mentioned. We are here to mark a very historic milestone for freshwater in Canada, the creation of the standalone Canada Water Agency in Winnipeg. Nous sommes ici aujourd'hui pour marquer une étape historique pour l'eau douce au Canada, la création de l'Agence de l'eau du Canada. Now, I have been lucky to be part of the water community for many years, both in Flow and in the Gordon Foundation, where we worked on creating DataStream, who works with the Lake Winnipeg Foundation as a voluntary effort to look at the quality of our water. So I am very, very honored. J'étais honoré de recevoir l'invitation à mener cet événement aujourd'hui. Very happy to be with you, and I'll be your MC for the morning. So to open our event today, I would like to introduce Elder Barbara Nepinak from the Pine Creek Ojibway First Nation. Elder Nepinak is an important figure here in the Forks, welcoming people annually to her teepee to learn about Indigenous culture, and there's no better place than here at the Forks. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that introduction. It's always an honor to come to a prayer for events such as this. And I was given tobacco, which is the traditional protocol for us to do our prayers and our ceremonies. And so with that, I'm going to do my prayer in Anishinaabe. I grew up in a family of 9 girls and 2 brothers. My mother always used to say, you pray in the language you know best. So to this day, I still do that. I acknowledge each and every one of you. And for some of you that have traveled here, I wish you good travels, stay safe, and stay warm. And and it's always an honor to be here. You know, we talk about the Forks itself, which is very significant for us. You know, my late husband and I set up teepees here for 23 years. 23 years ago, we started doing that, having cultural programming here at the Forks to ensure that we had an Indigenous presence. And to this day, it's still going strong. I pray in my language, but I always pray for people that are homeless, children that are in care, people that have addictions, because we all have a path. We all have a story. And we talk about the water. It is our responsibility as women. We do the water ceremony in the tradition that I follow. But I will not be doing that today because that was not the purpose of my being here today. So with that, I'm going to do my prayer. My traditional name in my language is Nishupine Sikwe, two-thundered woman, and I am from the Bear Clan. And I was given tobacco, and that's how I will do my prayer. Nishupine Sikwe, Nishikenimi West Makwantuate. Memna West Semaki Mishimini Guad, Chimigagi Samakishamanito, Chuabate Guang, Midabi Matisivin. Kegawi Kachuani Kenangatonic, Kutamakadandik Niseka Shikshinwa. I've been on Chicago hot again then. I bear here and quick, Capita coat is what, to be the 70 watt. But the Shinong Shaman to worship of Senaman, Shawani Mishnam, Wabandashinam, and Nabi Martisivin, Chisaki Tiak Magap Mustang, Chiwichi Tiak, Koyok in India Kamaga di Boyot, Kevin on the Shiboko Sandamon, Minabi Martisivin. Kichina and I was the guy Chigiot to work Wapskiek, Chicken the water is stabe toin, stabe chicken, but the shing china, and it's get to have no much deeper yan. Chigagi samakishaman ito. Ya kuya da kensi man agin takitat. Manache bakanawiya. Minaka kanu shawiya. Minatisit. Nanagachiyak. Abinunchiyak. How me what the nungo mabuisha bokasenan. I embrace this day, all of you. I wish you good travels and a successful gathering today. And the purpose why we have gathered here today is that water, which brings life. Miigwech, thank you.
Thank you for those very meaningful words. I would also now like to welcome an Inuit elder, Elder Dolly Titshichu, to deliver further remarks. She will also light the kulik, a traditional Inuit practice. Elder Tinashu hails from Nunavut, but now resides here in Manitoba. Welcome, Elder Tinashu.
Ubanga Dolly Tinashu. Now Yamuta Vina Nunavumi. Tana Kudlik Ikuma Giaka Kawaraka Anualama Tana Anne Kangakadlak Tana Kudlik Atoniku Mago Sunaruktano Inu yung next mang mata. Kanga kadlatana inung neatok tawlaw man ayokon next sakti tawlaw kama mana mo tikit lugo. Kodle ikigaya kakagarak takano kaman. Ay tango gara tagba Nikki.
So I will be translating in English with what Dolly had stated. So she will be lighting the kulak. The kulak in the Inuit culture is a very significant piece of item that Inuit women took care of for millennia. And this kulak is an item that was used with our ancestors to keep warm in the igloo, to cook food, to heat water, and to dry the clothing of the different skins of animals that they use to make clothing. So it was a very significant piece of item that really helped to sustain life within the North. Dolly had said, it's so cold enough. It would have been nice to have an igloo here to light the kulak. Unfortunately, it is very windy outside, and it may be a little bit difficult for her to light the kulak while she's be throat singing. So Inuit throat singing is a tradition that was passed down from generation to generation. Inuit throat singing was banned from our cultures and our communities for the last 70 years. And, you know, this is because of colonization. And so this is a resurgence of Inuit women bringing this cultural practice back into our communities. A long time ago, Inuit lived in igloos, and there were different roles for different genders. The men's role was to go out in groups and go hunting. Sometimes they would be gone for days and sometimes weeks, depending on the migration of the animals. The women's role was to stay back in the community and teach the children the way of life in the North, how to be safe around the seawater, how to sew, how to cook. One day when a group of men went out hunting, they never came back to the community to feed the women and their children. Several things could have happened. They could have fell through the ice and drowned, got lost and froze to death, or mauled by different animals like polar bears, and that's just the harsh reality of life in the North and still is today. As a result of this, our children were starving, and mothers, being the life givers of humanity, needed to find a way to feed their children and keep them alive. So 2 women went down to the ocean, and they started mimicking different animal noises with their throats. And when they did this, they found that they attracted smaller animals, and that is how they caught their food to feed their children. A true story of survival. Today, throat singing is typically 2 women facing face to face, looking into each other's eyes, mimicking different noises from the environment, and basically the first person that laughs is a loser. I don't have a partner today. So Dolly will attempt again. It's quite windy, but you have an idea of what the khulliq looks like, the significance of the khulliq, and here you go.
Well, thank you for that wonderful ceremony and singing. I'm from a Welsh background, but you'll be delighted to know that I won't be singing to this morning. So it's my pleasure now to invite Chief Clarence Easter of the Chemawawin Cree Nation to the stage to deliver some remarks on behalf of the Assembly First Nations. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Chief Clarence Easter of the Chemawawin Cree Nation, located in the traditional territory of Treaty 5 Nations. I want to welcome you all today to Treaty 1 territory on behalf of the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs, which represents 63 First Nations in Manitoba region. I want to thank both Dolly Dashnell and Elder Barbara Nepinak for opening us in a good way. Also like to thank our federal partners and their team of inviting the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs to be part of today's announcement, including the Environmental Minister and Climate Change Canada, Steven Guilbeault, if I say that right, a Member of Parliament, Terry Duguid. Also like to acknowledge the Minister of Environment and Climate Change, Tracy Mason, David Chartrand, Mayor Scott Gillingham. It's great to be alongside of all of you today. Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs is pleased to acknowledge the announcement of Canada Water Agency establishment in Winnipeg as a standalone entity. This moment marks a significant step towards our collective responsibility to safeguard the health of our lakes and rivers and present a vital opportunity for our collective efforts to enhance water management and conservation efforts across our traditional territories. The member nations of Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs have a vested interest in the health and protection of waters surrounding our nations. Throughout Manitoba, these waterways are interconnected. We're glad that the Canada Water Agency is delivering a freshwater ecosystem initiative to take measures to restore and protect nationally in significant water bodies, including Lake Winnipeg and Lake of the Woods, and continued work is needed as these important water bodies are still confronted with issues such as harmful algae blooms, pollution, threatened fish, aquatic species, and climate change. We greatly appreciate the ongoing and future initiatives of the Canada Water Agency. The Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs further appreciate the invitation to be engaged in the review of the Canada Water Act. Since being passed in 1970, the freshwater challenge only increased. Therefore, a review of the Act is needed to reflect the current freshwater challenges in Canada. From a First Nations perspective, water is not just a resource, it is sacred and it's also part of our lives. Our communities have long understood that clean water is vital for our cultural health and the way of life. Clean water is essential for well-being of our natural environment. Protecting our waterways is essential for the well-being of both people and the environment. It's imperative that we find a strategy for a clean, safe environment, not only for today, but future generations as well. These are challenges and opportunities that we can address together. As such, the impacts of climate change, the growing economy, need for water, improving our knowledge, as well as collecting information and data on our water systems that will allow us to come up with an action plan to make real change. The Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs commends the Canadian Water Agency for their commitment to advance reconciliation, aligning with the United Nations Declaration of Rights of Indigenous Peoples Act, and honoring existing treaties and agreements. We look forward to collaborating closely with Canada Water Agency to ensure that First Nations perspective and traditional knowledge play a vital central role in water governance and stewardship. We welcome this new chapter with Canada and the promise of meaningful partnership in safeguarding our most precious resource. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Easter. Now I'm honored to welcome Minister JoAnne Remillard, the Minister of Environment and Climate Change for the Manitoba Metis Federation, the national government of the Red River Métis, and we are in the absolute homeland of the Métis Nation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Good morning, everyone. I hope everybody's, if you're not wearing jackets, I think if we get closer together, we can all keep warm. Thank you. Good morning, my name is JoAnne Remillard. I am the Minister of Environment and Climate Change for the Manitoba Metis Federation, the national government of the Red River Métis. First, I would like to thank Barbara Nepinak for the wonderful opening prayer. And I also like to thank Dolly, and I'm sorry, for the throat singing. Thank you very much. On behalf of President Chartrand and the entire Manitoba Metis Federation Cabinet, I would like to welcome you all to Winnipeg, the heart of the homeland, national homeland of the Red River Métis. It is an honor to say a few words today. At this moment marks a significant step forward in the collective commitment to safeguarding one of our most precious resources, water. The Red River Métis have always been deeply connected to the lands and waters within the national homeland, working closely with and relying heavily on natural resources for livelihood, sustenance, and the ability to practice our traditional Red River Métis culture. The establishment of the Canada Water Agency provides an opportunity to recognize the importance of Red River Métis knowledge and leadership in the water management in Canada. Our perspectives, values, and practices offer insight into sustainable stewardship informed by our deep understanding of the land and its cycles. The Manitoba Metis Federation has always understood the importance of protecting and conserving our traditional territory and beyond, for not only us, but for future generations. This is being accomplished through our mandates and many programs and projects, including but not limited to the Manitoba Metis Federation's Red River Métis Community-Based Climate Monitoring Program, which provides Red River Métis citizens with training, equipment, and resources to conduct environmental monitoring such as water sampling. Also, the Métis Environmental Leaders of Tomorrow program, which we call MELT, which provides land-based educational events that blend Red River Métis traditional knowledge with Western science to teach youth from kindergarten to grade 12 about climate change and how they can implement climate action in their lives and communities. Everything starts when they're born, right? When we have our children, we start teaching them right from birth. As we move forward, it is essential that we continue to foster true collaboration, one that respects Red River Métis rights, knowledge, and governance. This includes ensuring that Red River Métis are at the forefront of all decision-making that impacts our waters, and to continue to build on the nation-to-nation relationship between Manitoba Metis Federation and Canada. Lastly, let us remember that the water is not just a resource, but it is fundamental human right. We have the responsibility to ensure that it remains honored, preserved, and protected. While we celebrate the launch of the Canada Water Agency today, let us acknowledge the work that lies ahead. Together, we can ensure our waters remain clean, accessible for generations to come. Merci. And I would like to thank Minister Guilbeault and your team at Environment and Climate Change. They've done a wonderful job, a wonderful partnership between us. Thank you so much, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, we know that climate change delivers a double whammy to water management in the country. That the increased heat and the snow melt of the glaciers leads to great flooding. And then the intense heat leads to us to have temperatures in May that we used to have in August. And that leads to the great wildfires right across the country, but which have invaded cities and towns like Fort McMurray and Jasper. So it's my great pleasure to introduce and to welcome to Winnipeg and Manitoba the Honorable Minister de l'Environnement, Steven Guilbeault, who also has reporting to responsible for Parks Canada, and the Canada Water Agency will be reporting to him. He is a minister who has put climate change at the absolute center of his mission, not only as a minister of the Crown, but of his whole career, going back to the Rio Summit in 1993.
Good morning, and thank you very much, Mr. Axworthy, for this kind introduction. Elders Nepinak and Tina Shlu for the beautiful words, and everyone here, and there are many of you. You can't see it from the front, but if you turn and look, there's quite a few people, and everyone watching online and joining us today. I would also like to acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1, original territories of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Anishinaabe, Dakota, Lakota, Dene peoples, and homeland of the Red River Métis. The Forks, where we are gathered here today, is at the junction of the Red and Assiniboine rivers, a focal point for human use for at least 6,000 years. Canadians value fresh water. They understand its importance for health, for prosperity, spirituality, and cultural practices. they are concerned and want action to protect fresh water. Water is vital to all life. We have a lot to learn from First Nation, Métis, and Inuit relationship with water and ice. Recognizing water has a spiritual meaning to many. We need to respect and better understand Indigenous knowledge of water systems. Yet, freshwater has been facing challenges that are intensifying due in large part to climate change, droughts, floods, deteriorating water quality. Pollution from farming and industrial activities have significant impacts on water quality, impacts that are very serious and costly. Just this summer of 2024 shattered all records in terms of severe weather damage, $7 billion in insured losses from floods, fires, and hailstorms. C'est pourquoi le gouvernement du Canada agit et prend des mesures décisives en matière de lutte au changement climatique, tout en maintenant un niveau de vie abordable pour la population. Nous avons maintenant un plan pour atteindre la carboneutralité en 2050 et la tarification carbone est la pièce maîtresse de notre plan de lutte au changement climatique. La remise canadienne sur le carbone fait en sorte que 8 ménages sur 10 reçoivent plus qu'ils ne paient en matière de tarification. Nous avons présenté la première stratégie nationale sur l'adaptation de l'histoire du pays pour un Canada plus résilient face aux impacts des changements climatiques. Et plus encore. Le gouvernement a récemment présenté le projet de loi C-61 sur l'eau propre dans les communautés des Premières Nations qui est actuellement en examen au Parlement. Et j'attends avec impatience les recommandations de l'étude sur l'eau douce du Comité permanent sur l'environnement et le développement durable. But addressing water challenges need more, and we can't do this alone. We need to cooperate with our partners. More federal leadership, coordination, and partnership. In Budget 2023, we committed to the introduction of the legislation to establish the Canada Water Agency as a standalone entity and provided $85 million over 5 years and $25 million ongoing for the creation of the agency. Alors, je suis heureux d'annoncer que nous avons franchi toutes les étapes pour l'établissement de l'Agence de l'eau du Canada en tant qu'entité fédérale autonome. Elle sera indépendante d'Environnement et Changement climatique Canada, dont elle faisait partie auparavant. Une agence autonome qui aura plus de visibilité et plus d'influence, qui relèvera directement du ministre, c'est-à-dire moi, et ses responsabilités d'établir des liens avec l'ensemble des partenaires sur la question de l'eau douce partout au pays. It has taken tremendous collaboration between many different partners towards creating the Canada Water Agency. Many of you are here, and I want to thank you for that. Many couldn't make it, but you should take pride in this moment. We're here today because so many people who've worked and advocated for the agency. Special shout out to you, Mr. Axworthy, as well as Mark Fisher, who's somewhere. I saw him, we were on the same plane last night. Mark. And obviously we would not be here if not from the incredible advocacy from Parliamentary Secretary, my friend and colleague, Terry Duguid, who's been a tireless champion for the agency. But also special thanks to my Manitoba colleagues, Minister Vandal, MP Kevin Lamour, and as well as MP Ben Carr, who have been incredible advocates for the Canada Water Agency and also for the agency to be here in Winnipeg. The agency will help the Government of Canada better address current water challenges and those of the future. We need to be better prepared for what comes into the future. We need to recognize that water is becoming more scarce and more precious. We have a responsibility to protect the waters we have. A strong Canada Water Agency will help us to do all these things and address new challenges as they arise. Au cours de la prochaine année, nous allons renforcer les partenariats avec les provinces, les territoires, les communautés autochtones et l'ensemble des intervenants. Par exemple, cette semaine, l'Agence co-organise le Forum Saint-Laurent Québec en collaboration avec la province du Québec et des partenaires locaux. Les efforts coordonnés ont permis d'ouvrir le fleuve Saint-Laurent à la baignade. L'Agence travaillera également en étroite collaboration avec ses partenaires pour mettre en œuvre les principaux éléments de la version renforcée du plan d'action sur l'eau douce et ainsi mettre en place une approche solide de la protection de l'eau partout au pays. Cette année seulement, l'Agence de l'eau du Canada s'est engagée à investir plus de 89 millions de dollars pour soutenir 155 différents projets menés par des partenaires partout au pays, qui soutiendra la restauration et la protection de l'eau douce. Il s'agit des premiers investissements que vous verrez au cours des 10 prochaines années qui seront soutenus par l'Agence grâce à un financement de plus de 650 millions de dollars qu'elle a obtenu dans le budget 2023. So you will see in the coming years and many investment by the Canada Water Agency following a record investment in budget 2023 of $650 million in freshwater protection in Canada. So we have a lot to celebrate today. There are few things more important than freshwater. The new agency we're launching today is a key step towards strengthening freshwater management, protection, and stewardship in Canada. And I want to thank all of you for making this happen. Merci beaucoup.
Merci. It's now my pleasure to introduce the Honourable Dan Vandal, the Minister of Northern Affairs and Minister responsible for Prairie Economic Development and the Canadian Northern Economic Development Agency. And within his responsibilities for the North, there is, of course, the Great Mackenzie River watershed, which is really the lungs of North America. And the Minister mentioned this, but I also want to thank the decision makers in the audience for the location of the agency in Winnipeg. It is a very rare thing. You can count them really on one hand of independent departments and agencies. The National Energy Board is in Calgary, for example. But here in Winnipeg, through the work of the men and women in this audience, and particularly the decision makers with us and with our cabinet minister from Manitoba, here we have this great new innovative agency right here in Winnipeg. Minister.
Thank you so much, Tom. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here at home to make this wonderful announcement, along with all of the other speakers here. First of all, I want to thank the Indigenous elders, Indigenous representation for your words this morning. Very, very important. I want to acknowledge Manitoba Caucus, Ben Carr, Kevin Lamoureux, and Terry Duguid. More on Terry later. Je veux souhaiter la bienvenue à Steven Guilbeault ici à Winnipeg. Bienvenue à notre province. C'est toujours bien de faire des annonces qui sont pas juste importantes pour Winnipeg, pour le Manitoba, mais pour le Canada cette fois ici. Et la prochaine fois, viens à Saint-Boniface. Thank everyone for being here. Manitoba is home to 100,000 lakes and rivers. Manitobans from across the province get to enjoy access to our waterways all year round, whether it's by going swimming on a hot day, water skiing, boating, or even ice fishing in the winter. And here in Winnipeg, we're at the Forks, the confluence of the Red and the Assiniboine rivers, but we also have the Seine River, we have the mighty Seine River, we have La Salle River, and we have many creeks and tributaries. So it makes complete sense to have the Canada Water Agency headquartered here in Winnipeg, where we know water. The agency does great work with provinces, territories, Indigenous communities, and scientists to keep our water safe, to keep our water clean and well managed. And now, as a standalone agency, it will be better equipped to tackle the issues facing Canada's freshwater, which are caused by climate change. And Dr. Axworthy mentioned the Mackenzie Delta. Well, I can tell you the Mackenzie Delta has lost, Mackenzie River has lost 2 feet over the last couple of years. And that's something that is really a wake-up call for our country. And I look forward to really the Canada Water Agency contributing to the solutions. But I really want to commend my friend and my colleague, Terry Duguid, for the hard work to getting us to this point. Let's hear it for Terry. Anyone who knows Terry knows that he never takes a day off, and they know he takes his job protecting the environment seriously and has been able to do great work as the Prime Minister's Special Advisor on Water. I also want to commend Indigenous peoples right here in Manitoba and right across Canada for their leadership and their stewardship since time immemorial. First Nations, Inuit, and Métis have a special relationship with water because Indigenous people understand that water is the lifeblood of our bodies, water is the lifeblood of our economy, and water is the lifeblood of our country, Canada. And I know that the agency will continue its work using, working hand in hand, using not only scientific data, but also using traditional knowledge that's been passed down from generation to generation. So today is not a good day for Winnipeg. Today is a fantastic day for Winnipeg, a great day, and it's a great day for Canada's freshwater supply. Merci beaucoup, Miigwech. Thank you.
Well, the minister said that here in Manitoba, we know water. And one of my first memories when I was 3 years old was the Red River flooding, and we had to move from Winnipeg to Swan River. So I knew water at a very early age. And now we have the agency to help us manage those kinds of calamities. So as has already been mentioned, it's my pleasure now to introduce Terry Duguid, the Member of Parliament for Winnipeg South and the Parliamentary Secretary to the Prime Minister and the Special Advisor for Fresh Water. I've been teaching for a long time, first at United College and then now the University of Winnipeg, I guess for many years, been interested in politics and associated with one certain political party. And my students today ask, why did you spend so long in politics and parties? They can't comprehend it, really. And I try to answer that that's one avenue for making a difference. And as well as his work on water, I want to say that Terry Duguid shows through his advocacy and his knowledge and his perseverance for his meeting with water groups across the country, what an individual member of parliament can do. Members can make a difference. And this is a man who has done so. Terry Duguid.
Well, thank you, Tom, for those very kind words, for emceeing today's launch and for being an incredible water champion throughout the various phases of your career. I'll have a little bit more to say later about you, but also thank you, everyone, for coming from the four corners of this beautiful country of ours to be with us. Some of you have come a long way, and I know we really appreciate it. Thank you also to Elder Barb Nepinak, that beautiful prayer. Barb, we miss Clarence very much, but we know he is here in spirit. Elder Dolly, Inuk throat singer Nikki, Chief Easter, Minister Remillard, and our fiddler, Tracy Leclerc. Where's Tracy? I thank you for, they've all started us off in a very good way, a very profound way. The guidance of First Nations, Métis and Inuit peoples has been instrumental in shaping the establishment of the Canada Water Agency, and we look forward to continuing our partnership as the agency evolves, and it will evolve with Indigenous rights front and center in all we do. And folks, it has been a very long journey, almost 5 years since Ralph Goodale introduced the Canada Water Agency as a platform commitment in 2019. There's been a lot of consultation, a lot of research, a lot of navigating bureaucracy. And I really want to say thank you to some of the folks who brought us to this special day. First of all, thank you, Minister Guilbeault, for being here and for your support and advocacy in the face of some pushback in our government systems, which we all know well. Those of us who have worked in government over the years, you listened to the thoughtful and dedicated water community, many of whom who are gathered here today. You listened to me, and I know I was a little annoying at times from time to time, but you have truly been a transformational environment minister. In my view, the most transformational in our country's history. Let us hear it for Steven and the great work that he has done as our environment minister. And folks, because of the minister's support, strongly supported by Minister Vandal in cabinet and my colleagues, Ben Carr and Kevin Lamrou, strong advocates for this city and province of ours, we have a standalone independent departmental agency. Some of you are wondering, what the heck does that mean? But it means that we have a powerful advocate and focal point for freshwater protection and management. It will be led by a deputy minister led position, a president, and it will have significant independent decision-making power to be that advocate for freshwater from coast to coast to coast, and significant decision-making authority, as I said. And this was enthusiastically endorsed by our Prime Minister, who was here about a year ago, who announced that Winnipeg would be the headquarters of the Canada Water Agency. I'd like to introduce a very special person to you. Daniel Wolfish, where are you? There he is. Daniel Wolfish is the new interim president of the Canada Water Agency, and he has done an incredible job of building the foundations of the agency from the ground up, building relationships with provinces, territories, municipalities, Indigenous governments and communities, and stakeholders across the country. The agency right now is about, I think, 215 employees. 100 will be located in downtown Winnipeg. Mr. Mayor, yes, downtown Winnipeg at City Place. They will be eating at a lot of restaurants. They will be getting parking tickets that will fuel your budgets, and it's going to contribute to downtown revitalization, which I know is very, very important to all of our Manitoba MPs who are gathered with us today. More thank yous, and I really want to thank, and Tom, you started this, but I'd like to complete the list of those people who really put their shoulders to the wheel over years to make today possible, and this idea of a standalone independent agency. And I think some of them are with us today if they want to raise their hands. Dr. John Pomeroy from Global Water Futures, Tom Axworthy, of course, Massey College, and FLOW, the Forum for Leadership on Water, as well as other hats that he wears. Ralph Pentland from FLOW, who was just a giant in the water space. Marilyn Fair from the Center for Indigenous Environmental Resources, FLOW, and our IJC Commissioner. Let's hear it for Marilyn. The first International Joint Commission commissioner from Western Canada in like about 60 years. So thank you, Marilyn, for all the good work you do. Mark Fisher, Council of the Great Lakes region with responsibilities. There's Mark. The largest freshwater ecosystem on Earth, the 6th largest economy in the world. Bob Sanford, a visionary from United Nations University. Oliver Brandis from FLOW and POLIS. And I'd like to recognize former National Chief of the Assembly of First Nations, Phil Fontaine. And there are others too numerous to mention, but I would like to give a shout out to a couple of your staffers, Minister Curtis Layden and Josh Swift, who's just over there. Look at, he's wearing a toque. You're a wimpy Easterner, my God. And they are both senior policy advisors. Just winding down now, I'm often asked the question, why Winnipeg? Why Manitoba for the headquarters of the national agency? And I think the question should be, why not? Here we are at the junction of two rivers where so much history has been written. As Dan Mandel mentioned, Manitoba with 100,000 lakes, the 11th largest freshwater body in the world, Lake Winnipeg. We have every conceivable water challenge: floods, droughts, algae blooms, invasive species like zebra mussels. We are home to the International Institute for Sustainable Development, ELA, which manages the only whole lake laboratory in the world, the Freshwater Institute on the U of M campus, the National Center for Truth and Reconciliation, the Center for Indigenous Environmental Resources, the National Microbiology Lab that works on waterborne diseases, a vibrant agricultural sector, top-notch engineering firms. In my view, we are the ideal location for the Canada Water Agency. So I'm especially proud that the Canada Water Agency is headquartered in Winnipeg. Je suis particulièrement fier que l'Agence canadienne de l'eau ait son siège à Winnipeg. Nous avons fait des progrès importants, mais il reste encore beaucoup à faire. Ensemble avec nous tous, nous protégerons l'eau douce du Canada pour les générations à venir. And I am confident that the Canada Water Agency will provide the leadership and foster the partnerships we need to protect Canada's precious fresh water. We have made significant progress, but there is still much to do. Together with all of you, we will protect and restore Canada's fresh water for generations to come. Thank you.
Our new water agency, of course, as we've already mentioned, will be working with and collaborating with our Indigenous peoples. We'll be talking, the mayor will be mentioning in a few moments the role of Winnipeg, but also especially important will be collaboration with our provinces. To protect and preserve our water is a mission for every level of government in Canada. And therefore, I'm delighted to introduce Mr. Mike Moyes, representing the government in Manitoba, the MLA for Riel, and the legislative assistant for environment and climate change.
Let's see if my hands and voice will work. It's a little chilly out here. You can tell who's a little newer or newly elected versus the wily veterans who are wearing warm coats on a cool day. Well, the air is cool, but our hearts are warm. So good morning, everyone, and thank you to the elders for starting us off in a good way. I'm absolutely delighted to be here today at the launch of the Canada Water Agency. As the legislative assistant in the environment and climate change, it's my absolute pleasure to be here on behalf of Premier Wab Kinew and Minister Tracy Schmidt. First, I'll say that Manitoba could not be happier to have the Canada Water Agency located in our great province. Water is essential for our lives, crucial for health, food, energy, economic growth, and the environment. It is quite fitting to have the headquarters of the Canada Water Agency located here in our province. Manitoba is home to 100,000 lakes, covering 16% of our province. This includes Lake Winnipeg, one of the world's largest lakes, and one that is closely connected to the Canada Water Agency's priorities for fresh water. With a basin that encompasses more than 1 million square kilometers and that stretches across 4 Canadian provinces and into the United States, Lake Winnipeg is a perfect example of how water management requires cooperation across jurisdictions and with partners at every level. Manitoba is committed to working with experts and scientists to protect Lake Winnipeg and safeguard the health of all our waterways. To deliver on this, we must have a target to aim at. This is why Manitoba recently announced our first ever nutrient targets for Lake Winnipeg and its tributaries, part of a wide range of actions to improve water quality and protect waterways across our province. However, we know that meeting these objectives requires work with partners across the Lake Winnipeg Basin, and that water management is always done better collaboratively. We already enjoy a strong partnership with the federal government on environment and water issues, notably through our Lake Winnipeg Memorandum of Understanding and the long running Lake Winnipeg Basin program. And we look forward to building on these successes with the Canada Water Agency. So let me welcome our newest partner in water management and express our government's appreciation for recognizing Manitoba as the best place for the new Canada Water Agency to take on its important work on our most important resource. Thank you. Merci. Miigwech.
Well, as Terry has already mentioned, our mayor, Scott Gillingham, has been leading an effort to revitalize the downtown, possibly even to relocate the railway. And surely having this new agency with these terrific, well-paying, highly skilled jobs in city space as part of that revitalization. Mr. Mayor, delighted you're with us. And then we have a little press conference.
Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. I've got two bits of great news. I'm the final speaker. And Harrison's Coffee has hot coffee and tea, and so does Tallgrass Prairie. So after you're done this, make sure you stop by and, get something warm to drink. I want to thank everyone who's spoken before, Elder Barbara, Elder Dolly, Nikki, everyone who's played a part, ministers. Thank you so much, Minister Guilbeault. Thank you for being here and for today's announcement as well. And I want to thank Dr. Thomas Axworthy as well. It's always great to see Terry Duguid, and no doubt his efforts have been acknowledged here to get the Canada Water Agency located here within Winnipeg. As we gather here today, it's hard not to reflect on Winnipeg's history. We are celebrating our 150th anniversary as a city this year. And of course, Indigenous peoples have been calling this place and this space home for thousands of years prior to that. And I want to also acknowledge a couple of others who are here today. I'm really glad to see the chair of water, wastewater, and the environment, Councillor Evan Duncan, who's here as well. Thank you so much, Councillor. And my colleague and peer, Mayor Larry Johansson from Selkirk. Thank you very much for being here, Mayor Johansson. The city really was built, though, on two transportation networks. The first was the rivers, which, of course, we're standing next to today. The second was the rail lines, which has shaped much of our early development. So it's interesting that yesterday we had an announcement about rail relocation study headed by Dr. Lloyd Axworthy. And today we're here for the launch of the Canada Water Agency, emceed by Dr. Thomas Axworthy. So it appears that when you're talking about the forces shaping Winnipeg's future, you've got the rivers, the rails, and the Axworthys. But in all seriousness, water has always been central to Winnipeg's identity. It's why the city was founded right here at the joining of the Red and the Assiniboine rivers. The rivers have shaped our history, and no doubt they are shaping our future as well. But as we look to the future, Winnipeg's role as the headquarters of the Canada Water Agency takes this relationship to a whole new level. It's a huge vote of confidence for our city and our province's expertise, resilience, and leadership when it comes to managing one of the most precious resources that we have. The agency's presence here will solidify Winnipeg and Manitoba's place in national conversations, I would say in international conversations on water management. It will bring more sustainable jobs to our city, boosting our economy, building on the innovation already happening in places that have been mentioned already, the Freshwater Institute, the International Institute for Sustainable Development, and our universities. And of course, I am very, very pleased that the Canada Water Agency is located in downtown Winnipeg, critical to our ongoing efforts, as has been mentioned, to revitalize Winnipeg's downtown. It also really builds upon the other investments the three levels of government are making into water-related infrastructure in our community. Most notably, the North End Water Pollution Control Center, the North End plant. And I want to thank MP Duguid, Minister Vandal, and the province as well for the ongoing discussions we're having about the importance of building that North End plant. It's critical not only for our environment, but it's critical to accommodate Winnipeg's growth capacity as our city continues to grow rapidly. We certainly are working together to make sure that that project is fully funded. I also want to acknowledge, of course, the founding and ongoing role of First Nations, Métis, Inuit knowledge and the role that it plays in managing our water sources. Winnipeg will continue to be a place where that knowledge is respected and applied in meaningful ways as the Canada Water Agency moves forward and does its work. In closing, once again, Minister Guilbeault, thank you. Thank you so much. And Parliamentary Secretary Dogood for making this vision a reality. I want to echo just briefly what Parliamentary Secretary Dogood mentioned about all the dozens of people behind the scenes. This doesn't happen without a whole bunch of staff members and experts doing a lot of hard work. So thank you to each one of you as well. Thank you. Merci. Miigwech.
So as the mayor said, this ends the formal speeches, but not our opening ceremony. We will now have a question and answer and a media availability, and that'll be chaired by Brandon Klim. So 20 minutes or so for questions.
Et puis, on a aussi des journalistes sur la ligne Zoom qui vont par la suite pouvoir poser leurs questions. So we have one question, one follow-up, and we will then take questions on the ground here and then via Zoom following the on-the-ground questions. So go.
Minister Guilbeault, please. Hi, Bart Kiva, CBC News here. Your colleague Sean Casey suggested that people in his constituency are tuned out the Prime Minister. What do you think of that?
The reason I've come into politics is because of Prime Minister Trudeau. The reason I'm the Minister of Environment and Climate Change and that we are able to make announcements like the one we've just made today is because of Prime Minister. The reason that for the first time in Canada's history, as our economy is going full steam ahead, our emissions, our greenhouse gas emissions are at their lowest point in 25 years. It's never happened before in the history of our country where the economy is going up and our pollution's been going down is because of the Prime Minister. He has my entire trust and support.
How do you think, though, the Prime Minister can continue in his role when he doesn't have the support of all of his caucus?
I would argue that he has the support of the vast majority of the caucus.
Est-ce que vous pouvez le dire en français également, s'il vous plaît?
En français, and that doesn't count as her question.
Thank you.
Donc, la réponse à la première question, c'est que la raison pour laquelle je suis en politique, et le fait que je sois ici devant vous comme ministre de l'Environnement et du Changement climatique, c'est à cause du Premier ministre Trudeau. Le fait que, pour la première fois dans l'histoire du pays, alors que l'économie fonctionne à plein régime, nos émissions de gaz à effet de serre sont à leur plus bas niveau en 25 ans, ce qui n'est jamais arrivé. C'est grâce au Premier ministre. Le fait que nous soyons capables de faire une annonce comme celle d'aujourd'hui, donc l'Agence canadienne de l'eau, ici à Winnipeg, avec un budget de plus de 650 millions de dollars, c'est grâce au Premier ministre. Il a mon entière confiance et mon support. Et j'affirme que c'est le cas pour la très grande majorité du caucus.
Je voudrais revenir justement sur... Déjà, je suis Anne-Louise Michel, journaliste pour le Réseau de l'information. Je voudrais revenir sur l'Agence de l'eau du Canada. On parlait d'une agence plus indépendante, une agence avec plus de missions. Qu'est-ce qui n'allait pas dans le précédent mode de fonctionnement? Qu'est-ce qui faisait que les institutions qui étaient déjà en place ne suffisaient pas pour protéger l'eau du Canada?
L'un des objectifs, plusieurs en ont parlé, c'est la meilleure coordination, le travail notamment avec les provinces, les territoires, les peuples autochtones. Précédemment, la responsabilité de l'eau au niveau du gouvernement fédéral était répartie à travers 40 ministères, agences fédérales, sociétés de la couronne. Et vous savez, quand quelque chose est la priorité de tout le monde, à la fin de la journée, c'est la priorité de personne. Alors, l'idée de regrouper l'ensemble de ces services-là, de cette capacité-là, à la fois de faire de la recherche, de financer des groupes partout à travers le pays, comme on a commencé à le faire de pouvoir coordonner le travail avec les provinces, les territoires, les peuples autochtones, ça fait une différence énorme.
Et puis, j'aimerais revenir sur les missions. Il y a une grosse liste de missions qui vont être attribuées à cette agence. Pourtant, on n'a pas de cible. Vous parliez tout à l'heure que dans les 10 prochaines années, on va avoir beaucoup de financement. C'est quoi les cibles qu'on veut atteindre justement sur la protection de l'eau?
En fait, on aurait certainement pu définir tout seul dans notre coin, le gouvernement fédéral, des cibles à atteindre, que ce soit sur la qualité de l'eau, que ce soit sur la protection. Mais le rôle de l'agence va être de définir ça avec les partenaires et non pas tout seul en tant que gouvernement fédéral. Et c'est le travail sur lequel Daniel et son équipe vont travailler au cours des prochaines années.
André Boisjoli du Collège ST, vous dites, et c'est évident ce matin, que vous voulez collaborer avec les peuples autochtones ici au Manitoba et ailleurs. Le Southern Chiefs Organization demande que le lac au Winnipeg obtienne tous les droits et toutes les protections d'une entité vivante en vertu de l'article 7 de la Charte canadienne des droits et libertés. J'en suis sûr que vous connaissez cela et que vous avez lu. Où est-ce que l'Agence canadienne de l'eau se positionne sur ça?
En fait, je pense que cette question-là, comme bien d'autres questions, sera l'une des questions sur lesquelles l'Agence pourra se pencher au cours des prochaines années. C'est une possibilité. Cette idée-là de donner une forme juridique à des cours d'eau, c'est un courant qui est émergent dans le droit environnemental au niveau international. Alors, il y a quelques exemples ici au Canada. Donc, c'est certainement l'une des choses sur lesquelles l'Agence pourra se pencher, mais je ne peux pas vous dire aujourd'hui, on va le faire, on ne le fera pas, sur quel... Je pense qu'il faut travailler avec les partenaires, il faut définir si on le fait, comment on le fait.
OK. Je vais passer à une autre question sur la rivière Rouge, qu'on est si proche ce matin. La ville de Winnipeg déverse des millions de litres d'eau usée dans la rivière à chaque année. Le mois de février a connu l'une des pires fuites d'eau usée des dernières années. 135 millions de litres d'eau usée qui ont été déversés dans la rivière Rouge. Où est-ce que l'Agence de l'eau canadienne ira à punir la ville pour ces déversements? Comment est-ce que ça fonctionne dans ce type de cas?
Non, pour ce qui est des infractions aux lois et règles environnementales, il y a une direction sous le ministère de l'Environnement et des Changements climatiques, qui est la direction du respect des lois, qui est un peu en quelque sorte la police d'Environnement Canada, qui se charge de faire ça. Il y a une amende à une entreprise albertaine d'1 million de dollars qui vient d'être imposée pour des déversements. Donc, cette fonction-là va continuer d'être exercée par la direction qui est sous Environnement Canada.
Mais est-ce que les eaux...
C'était vos deux questions, monsieur.
Hi, Minister. I believe you answered a little bit of this in French, but I'll get you to kind of reiterate some of it in English. Can you speak to some of the freshwater challenges that Canada is facing and that the Canada Water Agency will be prioritizing in its work?
Well, I think many have spoken, Terry and Tom and many others. I think first and foremost, climate change. I mean, I think that in many parts of the world, if not most, the climate crisis will be a water crisis. And we're seeing it here in Canada, in a country that's blessed with so much fresh water, and yet parts of our countries are facing droughts, not too far from here in Alberta, for example. So you think as Environment Minister, every time I meet a farmer, he's going to be angry at me because of carbon pricing. Well, it's not the case. I meet farmers from coast to coast who want to come and talk to me about climate impacts on their capacity to farm. I met cattle farmers from Alberta. You'd think that I wouldn't be their favorite guy around. He did not want to talk to me about carbon pricing. He wanted to talk to me about the fact that he's had to cut in half his herd because there's not enough water. There's not enough fresh water in Canada. So certainly climate change will be an area of prioritization for the agency. But Terry was talking about algae blooms, water usage between jurisdictions in Canada. I mean, there's a long list of things that the agency and Danielle and his team will be tasked with in the coming years.
And does that include, water issues in First Nations across Canada? We were dealing here with nations who have not had clean water for many years. Is that something that the Canada Water Agency will be tasked with as well?
Well, the agency will certainly be called to play a role on this. Now, as I was saying earlier in my speech, we are working on the adoption of a new bill to give First Nations water rights on reserve, something that they've been deprived for a very long time. So definitely there is going to be a coordination between different government bodies on those issues. Obviously, the Department of Indigenous Services Canada will continue to be involved, Crown Indigenous relation, but the agency, in terms of the knowledge, in terms of the understanding, will play a very crucial role.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bonjour Monsieur le Ministre, Ophélie Doireau du journal La Liberté. J'aurais une question justement, de savoir de quelle manière cette agence va pouvoir permettre à tous les Canadiens d'avoir accès à de l'eau potable.
Le rôle de l'agence sera certainement un rôle très important au niveau de la recherche et des solutions aux enjeux de l'eau. On a parlé de changement climatique, on a parlé d'espèces invasives, l'enjeu des algues bleues et vertes. Donc, quels sont les problèmes auxquels l'ensemble de nos lacs et rivières font face présentement? Quelles sont les solutions qu'on peut développer? Et le rôle très important de la coordination, parce que le gouvernement fédéral a un rôle très important à jouer sur ces questions-là. Mais comme vous le savez probablement, l'utilisation de l'eau en tant que ressource naturelle, c'est de juridiction provinciale selon la Constitution. Alors, mais comment on peut travailler ensemble pour trouver des solutions aux enjeux auxquels fait face l'eau potable au Canada?
Et ma deuxième question, ça serait donc là, si on se revoit dans un an, quels objectifs vous aimeriez que l'agence ait atteints?
On s'est donné un certain nombre d'objectifs, mais on ne voulait pas non plus définir d'avance les objectifs, puisqu'on veut que l'agence puisse travailler avec l'ensemble des partenaires pour se doter de cibles, pour se doter d'un plan d'action. Il y a quand même un certain nombre de choses qu'on veut que l'agence fasse. Donc, je parlais du financement. Par exemple, cette année, c'est près de 90 millions de dollars de financement pour des organisations de recherche sur les questions de l'eau douce partout au pays. Alors, certainement, ça va continuer. On doit encore, l'agence maintenant, elle existe, mais Daniel et son équipe doivent continuer de mettre sur pied cette agence-là, de trouver l'ensemble des employés. Les bureaux satellites, il va y en avoir à travers le pays, de Victoria à la ville de Québec. Alors, il y a beaucoup de choses. On est encore en mode développement au cours de la prochaine année, certainement.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci.
Thank you, Minister. Milan Lukes for the Manitoban. Collaboration was mentioned several times today, whether that be with the province or with First Nation groups. I'm just curious, is there any intent to have collaboration with the University of Manitoba on this initiative? Certainly scientists would be a big factor in this.
Oh, yeah.
Whether that's just federal scientists or perhaps MP Duguid would like to comment on that, because there's a significant amount of research occurring at the University of Manitoba. Thank you.
Thank you, Milan, for that question. As you know, you're a constituent of mine, and I have the great fortune of having the Fort Garry campus within the area that I represent. So, absolutely, we have incredible water expertise at the University of Manitoba. The Vice President Pinto has been gathering the scientists on campus and others who have both an interest and something to add in the water space. And so the agency, Daniel, I think you've been meeting with them already, will be working closely with them. They'll be part of the fabric of our collaboration here in Winnipeg. But of course, the University of Manitoba partners with other universities across the country, including the University of Saskatchewan. So it is a definite yes that we will be collaborating with the University of Manitoba. Hopefully, there will be opportunities, Daniel, for internships and for already have them with students, so that we really can become the focal point for water in the country. So that's a good question, and I hope that makes the front page of the Manitoban.
Thank you. There's no follow-up question. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bonjour, Juliette Strad pour Radio-Canada. Alors, vous avez parlé de 215 emplois. Quel sera le niveau d'expertise de ces employés? Qui est-ce que vous recherchez dans ces employés?
Beaucoup, évidemment, beaucoup de personnel avec qui ont des aptitudes au niveau scientifique, que ce soit en chimie, biologie, physique de l'eau. Il vraiment, on n'aura pas toute l'expertise non plus dans l'agence. On a parlé de partenariat avec des groupes de recherche, des universités, mais ce sera une organisation où la science, et particulièrement la science de l'eau, jouera un rôle très, très, très important.
Et alors, vous avez dit on a dit qu'une partie de ces employés serait dans le centre-ville de Winnipeg. Où seront basés le reste des employés de l'agence?
Alors, donc, le bureau chef est ici à Winnipeg, mais il y aura des bureaux satellites, comme je le disais, dans 7 ou 8 villes, Daniel? 5 villes, Victoria, Brampton, Québec, Burlington, pas Brampton. 5 villes.
5 villes.
Ouais.
D'accord, merci.
Merci. Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Thank you very much, everyone. Merci.